Today we're making really cool Saber style worship backgrounds in After Effects. The possibilities of this one are endless, so I'm pretty excited. Let's do it. What's happening, guys? I'm Sam DeZeo, and this is smartdesign.church, where we help make church media simple so you can communicate the timeless gospel in the 21st century. And if you make a church media of any kind, whether print, digital, whatever, you gotta subscribe because we have a new video out every week and you don't want to miss it. Today, we're working in After Effects, making some really sweet worship style backgrounds in After Effects. So let's jump on it. So in a new 1920 by 1080 composition, the first thing I want to do is make a new black solid. And we want to add the Saber effect on this layer, but this isn't an effect that comes natively in After Effects, but it is a free plugin, and it's a plugin from Video Copilot called Saber. It's completely free, super cool, with a ton of capabilities, and I'll drop that link down in the description below for you to download. Once you've installed the plugin, you may need to restart After Effects, but once you do that, you'll see an effect under Video Copilot called Saber. Just drop in that effect onto that black solid, and this instantly gives you a neat Saber effect. And we're able to adjust it and move it around, and I'd encourage you to just go through those presets to find a look that you like, because each one of them is so different in the amount of distortion, the amount of fog, the color, etc. One that I decided on for this look was the protocol preset. And remember, you're not locked into the preset's color that comes with that preset. You can change the color to whatever you want. And I want the beam of this light to pop a little bit more, so I want to play around with those intensity, spread, and size properties until I get something that I'm happy with. But again, you can toy around with this however you want. Then I'll go under my custom core dropdown and crank my end size down. That's going to make it so the end is smaller than the other side, giving that kind of feeling of creating a trail of light from that core. Now let's create the positioning of this beam. So instead of dragging those 2 points to reposition the beam, I'm actually going to do a technique that'll allow me to create multiple beams per layer. To do that, I'm going to grab my pen tool, and with the Saber layer selected, I want to add a line from off the screen to about the center area of my composition. We're going to mirror this beam later, so we don't need to animate all the way across the composition. This is going to act as the path that Saber is going to go on. So once I have my line, I'll set my core type to layer masks. This snaps that layer beam to the layer mask that I just created. And then we'll add more beams in just a second, but let's quickly add a little animation to this beam that we have so far. To do this, I want to add keyframes to our start offset and our end offset. So in our start offset with 2 keyframes, we want to have a keyframe go from 0 to 100 over about 2.5 seconds. And this is the animation that we have. Then, if we just adjust the end offset, what's going to happen is it's going to bring the tail end of this beam to the front end of the beam. So let's again set 2 keyframes, the first one being at 100, and after a few seconds bringing that down to 0. And now this beam has both a start and an end to that animation. And I think this is looking pretty nice so far. But let's create that mirror effect that I mentioned earlier. That's the part that's really going to sell this effect. But before we jump into that, I want to invite you to check out the course, the After Effects Roadmap for Churches. You know what, there is a ton of great tutorials out there on YouTube, and I don't think that's any secret, but most of those tutorials, here's the issue with them. They do not focus on your ministry at all. They don't have your ministry in mind, or they teach a little small portion of After Effects, and then you're left to just kind of stick everything together to try to understand this program. But that's how the After Effects roadmap is different. This program is designed to help churches, so you can level up your social media game, your on-screen backgrounds, your countdowns, your video announcements, your sermon series bumpers, or like seriously anything else that you can think of in terms of video and using motion graphics. We've got a lot to learn in the After Effects roadmap, so to sign up for that, click the button down below in the description or up in the card to get more information on that. So I want to add that mirror effect sooner rather than later, just so I can kind of get an idea of what this effect is going to look like. I want to add a new adjustment layer, and then on that adjustment layer, add the effect mirror. With this effect, we're able to position the mirror and determine which direction is being mirrored. We want our mirror to be directly in the center and mirror the left side to the right side. And just so you know, the center of a 1920 by 1080 composition is going to be 960 by 540. So that's exactly what I'm going to set in my reflection center point. That's going to position that reflection right in the center of this composition. And I'll leave the reflection angle to 0 because now it's mirroring the left side to the right side, which is exactly what I want. So now we can see whatever animation is happening on the left is also happening on the right. So let's add some more beams. With my first Saber layer selected, I'm going to again grab my pen tool and draw another path for this beam. And since this layer is already set to layer masks, it's going to automatically make another identical beam for you. And just know that all the layer masks on this layer are going to create beams that look identical and have the same identical animations. So if you want to have varying beams in terms of their look and their offsetting animation in terms of time, you might want to make multiple layers to do that, which is exactly what we're going to do. With this layer selected, I'm going to go to Edit, Duplicate, or you can do Command D on your keyboard to duplicate that layer. And before I adjust anything, I want to set the blending mode to screen. If I don't do that, you won't be able to see the bottom layer through the top layer. Setting it to screen makes all the black in that layer disappear and be transparent. So that way I can see both layers and I can adjust the positioning of those layers accordingly. And so I'll adjust the positioning of that top layer so the masks are in a different spot but parallel to our original lines. And I want to set these lines apart just to give them a different color. So in my effect controls, I'll get my color and set it to like a green color. And this is looking good, but I want to really set this apart from the original beam. So I need to adjust the animation a little bit. So I'll hit U on my keyboard with that layer selected, and that's going to bring up all the active keyframes. And it's really just a matter of playing and tweaking the timing. And one thing you may notice is that the more the start and the end keyframes overlap, the shorter that beam is, which might be kind of cool to have a small little beam come and maybe followed by a larger one. So let's do that. I'll just make a small beam and then duplicate that layer and offset the timing of that layer so it's behind the short beam layer. And then I'll open up my keyframes using U on my keyboard and then adjust them to make that beam longer following behind. So now this is really the technique that you're going to continue to use making these beams. First, you're going to duplicate the layer. Second, you're going to reposition the mask's path. Third, you're going to change the color. And then fourth, you want to adjust the timing of that animation to make it unique to all the other ones. So I'm just going to do this a couple more times to make a few more beams. Next, I want to create a vertical mirror look. So I'm just going to duplicate my adjustment layer at the top of all this that has that mirror effect on it. And I'll change the reflection angle to 90 degrees on that top adjustment layer. Now we have this look of like 4 different quads, all mirroring what's happening in the top left quad. And now I'm really liking the look of this, and this is kind of where it starts to feel a little hypnotic, if you know what I mean. Like, the only issue is that the animation isn't very long. Like, these beams have an end to them. And that means that this is only going to end up being like a 3 or 4 second long animation. So what I'll do is I'll just duplicate all of the beam layers that I have and offset their timing and their animation just so that it begins when the first set of beams end. This creates kind of a constant loop of sorts. But the thing is, this only makes your animation longer. It doesn't create like an infinitely going loop. But lucky for you, I actually put together a whole tutorial on creating infinite loops for your worship background. So that way you can turn this animation into a seamless loop that never ends. And if you want to watch that video, make sure to click right here. Or to watch more worship background tutorials, make sure to watch this video right here. And I'll see you in the next video.